Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. At the end of the month, OrbX is doing a giveaway of 3 copies of their Kola map for DCS. To enter the giveaway, all you have to do is sign up for their newsletter. I put a link in the description. Follow that link, fill out the form, and you're entered to win. I believe the drawing is on October 28th, and I decided to do a little showcase of my helicopters that I have in my fleet for DCS. In the areas of detail I went exploring, and put together a little montage of my DCS helicopters. We really are in a golden age of flight simulation, I think. I'm not saying that this is the peak. For sure, the technology keeps advancing, but we've never had so many options, so many good products, so many good peripherals at our disposal to use for flight simming. It's really quite an interesting time to be a flight simmer. Helicopter simming especially, it's really come a long way. Especially this map for DCS, I picked it up in early access. I like to support the developers in most of their product endeavors just because I like to have more stuff to use. So a little bit different when I started my sim career. I didn't have as much income to work with, obviously, so I have a little bit more for my flight sim now than I ever used to, obviously, because I'm a little bit older and I can spend a little bit more of my disposable income on it. So I get to have some more of the good gadgets. So I have a computer that can run things at max settings and some good controls, and been dabbling with the Moza AV9 force feedback joystick and really enjoying that and the differences between the flight simulators. And it's a great time. It's a great time to be heli simming. And this map is really good because it's one of the green maps, which, if you follow DCS at all, it's kind of one of the running jokes, I think, that every time they announce a new map, it's a desert area. So it's just like every other map. Not exactly, obviously, all of their maps have different landmarks and different features, but they do heavily lean towards desert. So I think that's why a lot of people were excited at the same time as putting a lot of hopes into this map, and I think this map is actually doing really well. And it's in early access, so there's a lot of areas that don't have detail, but there's a lot of areas that have great detail. And you can see the airport areas and surrounding areas in these videos, how well detailed they are. And just like little spots like this is one of the things that I love about DCS. Even using it as a primarily civilian sim, I don't really care much for weapons deployment. Honestly, most of these helicopters I don't even know how to use the weapon systems. But I do like to fly in DCS, and it's nice. And I guess what I was getting at is the mission editor is very powerful and very simple to use. And there's a bunch of different asset packs that you can have out there. Like this platform that I'm landing on is a Freeware asset pack. And it's super simple just to plop some things down in the mission editor and build yourself a little scene to work with in scenarios. So that's one of the great things about DCS. One of the even better things about DCS is this helicopter right here. So DCS World is free, and if you're lucky enough to get in on the OrbX giveaway and get a copy of Kola, you can get the Kola map right now without having to spend anything. And you can get this beautiful piece of freeware. This probably is the best piece of freeware software in the flight sim area that I have myself ever used personally. This thing it's one of the best helicopters out there. A little bit of a bummer about force feedback. It doesn't translate the telemetry feedback or vibrations from my AB9 right now. So the native helicopters both use direct force feedback and telemetry. It's a hybrid inside the AB9 software, so that you can get some speed effects as well as the direct effects with your AB9. Helicopters actually don't in real life have a lot of feedback in the cyclic. The hinges in the rotor system actually absorb quite a bit of the turbulence in the rotor system, and especially if they're hydraulic controls. This aircraft in real life is not as direct connected, but especially hydraulic boosted aircraft, you don't really feel much in the cyclic. It's not dead in your hands, but it doesn't have the same feedback like an airplane does when the airstream is like pushing on the ailerons and you can feel it pushing back against the yoke. It's quite a bit different. Helicopters don't have that same force feedback in the cyclic. That being said, you do feel some stuff, and it is kind of nice to have some of those features in the software, just to kind of give you, as a sim pilot, some cues to things that are happening, because you don't have the vibrations from the actual aircraft. Now, if you had something like a butt kicker hooked up, then it wouldn't really matter, because you could tune that to get those sensations without the force feedback in the joystick. But like I said, that's another peripheral and a completely different topic. So it's just one of those things about the force feedback with this being a freeware helicopter. It's just not there the same as it is with like the Gazelle or the Huey. That aside, it is one of the best flying helicopters in any sim. You have to be on the ball with your pedal controls. You're moving your feet a lot, which is pretty accurate, at least to my experience in Robinson's. The R22 is super sensitive on the pedals. It's got decent authority, and it's very twitchy, and the 500, from what I have heard from other pilots that have flown them in real life, is very similar in tail rotor authority. So it feels like it in the game. It feels very similar. So, and like even especially like right here coming in on this approach, you can see that I actually have to put right pedal in as I'm slowing down, which is true. It is correct. As you're coming in on your approach, you'll have quite a bit of dynamic change in the pedals, and you'll actually be right pedal heavy as you're reducing power and torque to descend. And then as you come into a hover, that's going to switch, and then you're going to pull up collective and put in left pedal smoothly. Obviously all that changes, and this helicopter replicates that probably better than any other helicopter in any sim that I've flown. So here you are sitting with a piece of freeware in a program that you can get for free. So you can fly this OH-6. I believe you can fly it without having any other helicopters purchased. Some of the other add-ons, I think, like and I don't have this one because I'm just not a big fan of the Black Hawk. Not that I don't like the Black Hawk, it's just not something I'm dying to have. If I had one, or if there was a good module out there, I'd probably pick it up, but it's quite a bit different. Anyways, with add-ons like that, I believe you actually have to have like either the Black Shark or the Huey, some helicopter module purchased in order to make that function. But with the OH-6 mod, I don't think that's a requirement. I think that its flight model isn't dependent on anything else, so it's a true freeware helicopter, and it is literally one of the best sim helicopters in any sim out there. It wasn't really my intention to push this as a freeware showcase, but yeah, it's good. So I don't know, like this obviously is not a free map, but you can get it in the giveaway. I don't know if because I haven't flown it in quite a while, I don't know if the map that you can get with DCS Rogue for free, that's the Caucasus map, I don't know if it's as detailed. It might actually be more detailed, I'm not sure, I haven't flown it forever, so I need to check that one out actually, just because it's been around for forever, so I know that they've updated and upgraded it along the way, but I'm really enjoying the detail of this map. It's really good flying around, and it seemed like piles of wood with a tarp over them was pretty cool. Would have been nice to see the tarp flapping, but it's good just to see the grass and trees moving. DCS was the first sim to really have these kind of particle effects, and now the other sims are following suit, which is great. Like, there's particle effects in X-Plane 12, but I don't think it has shifting or moving vegetation. And that will be a new feature that will be welcome in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, is the vegetation and world are affected by rotor wash and prop wash. So that's pretty cool. Just such a great flying and beautiful looking helicopter in the sim. It's so well done by Tobsen and 8-Ball. Go over to their Discord. I'll throw a link in the description of the video. Give them a donation, buy them a cup of coffee, whatever. It's not required to pay anything. These guys do this in their free time, but it's so good. It's a great add-on, a great program, and you can fly it for free. You can kind of see all the differences in the approach to scenery the different sims take, and man, I wish we could just mash them all together. I'd love to have the super program, right? If you could have a combination of DCS, X-Plane 12, and Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, like if you could mash those all together and take all the good features of each program and toss all the bad, it would be a great piece of software for sim lovers, for anybody that likes to fly and is into aviation. Man, that would be great. DCS, it's almost like an aviation. All of these different softwares are like aviation museums. DCS really centers around like the absolute fidelity of the module, making every fuse and switch work properly, and every nut and bolt. Like, the aircraft are probably the most detailed in any sim, and that sometimes can turn off new players from the series, just because if it isn't a simple aircraft, it does take quite a bit to learn. Like I said earlier with myself, I don't know any of the weapon systems. Not that they're hard to learn, I just don't care to. So I don't often play multiplayer either, because I'm not into aggressor mission type scenarios. I would do search and rescue, actually, or combat search and rescue. That's interesting to me. So I might join servers in the future as I get more into DCS to do that, but I like to fly civilian scenarios. Obviously, I like to put civilian liveries on my aircraft. So that's just how I like to sim. But you have the opportunity to do it whatever way you want, and DCS is a great program, and more simmers should use it, especially in the PC arena. If you're a PC simmer, jump on DCS, check it out, see what it's all about, and utilize the advantages that it has to offer. So it's got great scenery up close and from about 1,500 feet. Us helicopter pilots, we live in Class G, right? That's our playground. We're 700 feet to 1,200 feet. AGL pretty much all the time. There's really no reason to fly much higher than 2,000 feet AGL. That's about the safety factor range right there. It gives you enough good time to pick a spot and glide if you have an engine failure for an auto rotation. Much lower than that doesn't give you a lot of time for anything, but much higher than that, and you're not really gaining anything for helicopters. So, they don't gain efficiency at altitude like airplanes do. So there's really no point in flying higher than a few thousand feet AGL. So just not something you do, but the point trying to make that all the different sims have their limitations on how the scenery is displaying at different altitudes. So DCS, I think, looks more realistic from really close up. That's when the assets and the details really shine, like in that area where I was flying close to the ground in the OH-6. It almost looks like, I would say, like the Last of Us remastered for the PlayStation 4, right? So it is a flight sim, so it's not quite up to AAA titles of current gen consoles, but that kind of detail in and around the scenery is pretty good. It felt almost like the scenery had the detail level of, I would say, like The Last of Us remastered in that generation. It's pretty good for a flight sim. And DCS, because they do have all the damage and weapons modeling, they have some of the best particle effects in the sim genre. So it's pretty cool. I'd like to see some of that applied more to other things in the civilian world and how that would work. So I would like that tarp we flew over. That would be great. Like I would never overfly something like that in real life, because you don't know how well that's tied down, and you don't want to pull that up into your rotors. So things like that make a difference in real world flying. It would be great to have those kind of things implemented, but all that takes processing power, right? So as tech improves, as hardware improves, those kind of things would be great to add to the sim. We'll see on all the new iterations of software how these things are implemented, if anything like that is implemented, and what we get in this next gen push of flight sims. I don't have every helicopter that DCS has to offer, but I've got a pretty good mix, and I really do enjoy the level of detail and fidelity that they have to offer. They do have some of their issues too, so I'm not trying to grade or rate any sim as compared to the other as which one's better. They all have their ups and downs, their pros and cons, their pluses and minuses. I'm just really enjoying the depth of detail in DCS. This is a great altitude and setup for the weather to showcase DCS. It tends not to look great in the middle of summer with high noon textures, right? It almost oversaturates and looks a little washed out. So if you can get it to look good at this time of day with these settings, then it's gonna look good. Like, this is the kind of worst case scenario for how DCS can look, and it's looking great in this worst case scenario settings or conditions. If you throw some early day settings and a little bit more moisture in the air, or late evening, and you get some long shadows on the ground and desaturated colors, and DCS can look really realistic and cinematic without any post-processing. And you get that on this map, and it's really worth checking out how OrbX has joined the DCS team and brought their skill set and how they do things to DCS's way of doing things. So it's interesting. It's the first time that OrbX has made a map for DCS, and I'm liking the progression of how things are looking and how the performance is working and how the detail, the LOD is a level of details transitions smoothly in and out as you're getting closer and further away from these assets in the map. It actually it's another thing to talk about, is not only like does it look realistic, but is it performing well enough that it's not giving you any issues. And during play, it's doing really well. And most of these hiccups that you see, it's camera movement or judder and things. I'm still trying to work out the camera system and how I'm doing recordings in DCS, or like some of these cockpit views are recorded from VR. And the sense of immersion that you get from VR is unmatched, but it doesn't make the best for recording videos. The movements don't seem smooth when you're watching the replay, and it doesn't seem that way or feel that way when you're wearing the headset. It feels normal and natural and like you're actually in the aircraft. The immersion is second to none. But the recorded video isn't great, so it's good to have a good replay system, and DCS is pretty good in that area. It's not as good as X-Plane, but it's better than MSFS's system, so it's good. Most of the air bases are pretty well fleshed out now and textured, and the grasses and bushes are all done really well. In some of the parking spots, it's super easy in the mission generator just to, when you're throwing your aircraft down, to put a couple of assets. I mean, that's what I do in a lot of places, just a couple of barriers and a high-low or a trolley, cart, some kind of toolbox, something just to make it feel a little more lived in. In some of the hangar areas are less trafficked areas of the airport is typically where I like to do that, because that's generally how and where we would operate as helicopter pilots anyways. We don't tend to hang around the main trafficked areas just for safety reasons, to keep the airplane traffic and the helicopter traffic separate so we don't have accidents. So I like to just throw that real quick together in the mission generator, and it suits my purposes really well, and it's great to do on this map, because you can find really good and believable areas of detail, and there's a lot of custom buildings and models and areas. I think I saw a ski ramp positioned from one of the Olympic towns, and it's really well done, and you can see how they're changing things as they go and adding to the map and improving the textures and the realism. It's come a long way from when it was first released, and maybe I'll do a showcase in one of my next videos with the winter textures, because they look really good as well. The mountain and rock textures, that's something I'd like to see improved for low-level flight. They look great from 2,000 feet and above. They don't look so good in Class G helicopter airspace, so that's something that I will say I'm not too thrilled about with, and that's pretty across the board with most DCS maps. Although the newer Afghanistan map looks really good. And from what I've seen, the upcoming Iraq map looks great as well. So I'd like to see them make some progress along those lines on this map, and I think that would really round it out and make this map the best it could be. It's a really good map. It's a lot of fun to play in. So many trees, and feels really good as a helicopter pilot. If you haven't already, go to the link in the description and get signed up for the Kola map giveaway from OrbX. And also, if you haven't, head over to Tobsen and 8Ball's Discord and get a copy of the OH-6A. It's phenomenal. Thanks for watching. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.